All right, shall we get started?
Yeah, man. Should we kick off with BTC?
Yeah, well, we can talk about Bitcoin first up. Um, I'll just I'll share my screen a little bit later, but I'm just bringing up the chart because I haven't had a look at the markets this morning. So there's been a bit of volatility the past couple of hours. It looks like the past 8 hours down to just under 37K, and back up to 37.6 at the moment. We're trading. But for me, it's just sort of hanging up there, around that between 36 and a half, 36 and 38K. We've been there for what, about 4 days, 5 days now. Oh no, Thursday the 9th. It's over a week and a half. Um, it's just been chopping sort of sideways. To me, it feels like it's rolling over, although it could also be a bit of a reaccumulation period, for higher. How much higher? I don't think a lot. Um, at the moment, my top end sort of sits at around 42K. There is 48K above that, but got to get through 42 first. 42 is a very key level. It's a 50% from the all-time high to the lower 15.5K. And typically, based on prior cycles, it doesn't get through it on the first go. It'll hit it and then reject for a while. So I think we'll
Is,
be.
is that
Um,
dependent on the BlackRock situation, or is that just kind of within your kind of analysis anyway?
what's the BlackRock situation?
The ETF spot.
Ah,
Yeah.
nah, mate. I don't really buy into any of that. Like, I just don't. Um, like it'll be great news. It's going to bring a lot of money into the space. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes to charting, you you can't plan for a news announcement when you're doing technical analysis. It's just not, for me at least. That's just not how I personally work. Um, when whenever the ETFs do get approved, I'm sure there will be a big bounce, or it could go the other way. Everybody is planning on them being approved, but imagine they get delayed further, or uh, for whatever reason they might get denied for a period of time. That's going to send the market backwards. So it can be a double-edged sword, and that's why I try not not to consider it. Um, yeah, that's just sort of where I sit when it comes to the whole news side of things. But yeah, so for me, to the upside, 42K critical level. I'm scared. I still don't think that we'll get there this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do, because we are only about 15% away from hitting 42K. Um, in either case, whether we hit it or not this year, it's not really a big deal. If we were to push through and hold above it, that's when it starts to become a bit of a big deal. Um, but I might save that side of it for another catch up. I don't want to go into too much detail about that just yet. So, well, what's your thoughts on Bitcoin at the moment, Simon?
I'm, I mean, I'm watching quite a lot of stuff on Twitter at the moment, especially Ted Pillows and a few of the other major kind of guys that I follow particularly. There's a lot of noise coming around kind of this decision. Specifically, BTC, the reason that the pullback happened, and it dropped back down to kind of 35 was the decision was being delayed. Now, if it is going to be approved, rumblings are that it's going to be kind of like the first 10 days of January. That's if it is going to be approved. I think there's a lot of speculation at the moment happening around kind of this particular news, along with ETH as well, which is performing really strongly again today. Um, I we have very different styles of trading. Obviously, I'm a clip trader and I work by minute, and I know you're more kind of swing and day trading. I'm fascinated by this news because the when this pump happens, it's going to be really sudden. we go back to kind of the XRP situation earlier on this year where the rise was dramatic. I see that type of situation happening now for the way I trade. That's really good news because I can trade up, I can short it all the way back down. It's how much damage that spike either does to the market um, by the sudden increase, and then do we see a massive sell-off straight away? Or is this going to be kind of accumulation where we're going to see like a wave formation, like we've kind of seen at the moment, kind of like heading to kind of classic head and shoulders at the moment if it drops? Or are we going to see kind of like, as I said, a prolonged wave or jagged edge going up to, like you say, 42,000? I'm really interested at the moment to see if it breaks through the 38K, the kind of where the resistance is at the moment. I know I had a run up to it earlier on. It was kind of a soft rejection. And I've just got eyes on at the moment at 37.50 to see kind of what happens at the moment. And like you say, it is chopping sideways, but the chop seems to be getting higher and higher. Now, if it does go over 38, is it going to hit kind of 40 by the end of the year? It's a really interesting thing. I think 40 kind of like that key resistance, and it's also a key psychological level, like you alluded to. If we do reach that, I think my personal thoughts are it's going to stabilize, and that will be the new market marker. But for how long? Is this buoyancy then going to be sucked out if kind of the black box situation does not happen? Like you said, could we see a massive retrace coming back down to 35? It's just a really interesting point in kind of the market at the moment. It feels like it's just on the tipping edge of a seesaw. I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but then again, I do trade on kind of the news sometimes, especially on a 1 minute timer. When these big news events do happen, they do have kind of a dramatic effect for clip traders because you can make so much money so quickly. That's my take on it, but I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
I think for me, it's something that we all need to remember is that for Bitcoin, it's in a bull market. It's been in a bull market for over 12 months now. So the general direction is going to be exactly the same as when we hit the bear market. The general direction was going to be down. And during that period of marking down or marking up, during a markdown period, you're going to hear about all the bad news. Luna, FTX, 3AC, Mount Gox. There's quite a substantial list of bad news that made the headlines during the bear market. And all of those price drops that we experienced during the bear market got attributed to those news events that came out. But in reality, if you look at price cycles, Bitcoin typically fell between, I can't remember the exact figures, but I think it was around 82% to 87% being the most extreme during a bear market. Whereas this bear market, we dropped, I think from memory, is around 78%. So actually, for all the fraud that went on, collapses, we lost a top 10 crypto in being Luna that annihilated people, and FTX lost billions of dollars. For all that to happen, and we still didn't lose as much ground on Bitcoin than what we have in prior bear markets. To me, sort of says, well, when we're losing the most amount of money and we don't retrace as hard as prior cycles, is it the news that's driving this, or is it a natural part of the cycle? And the news events are being given that they're standing up the front, taking the award to say, I did this, but really, did they do it? Did they just help the price go to where it was naturally going to go anyway? And on the flip side, I look at it with the bull market. We hear a lot of the good news events, and the price is trending up. And when the price is going up, and you see a headline, people start looking, oh, it's because the Fed's pausing on rates, or CPI came in low, or there's an ETFs are coming out, whatever it might be. These news events also get the reward for pumping up Bitcoin, but it's naturally going to be going up because that's the part of the cycle it's actually in. And And so for me, that's how I like to look at it. We're in an uptrend on Bitcoin. We have been for 12 months now. We're actually the leading into the bull run, which is for me is different to a bull market. The bull run is when it starts to really get explosive. Retail starts coming in. Your mum and dad might be sending you a text message, should I buy some Bitcoin? Whatever it might be. We're coming close to that bull run period. You typically have 3 accumulation cycles leading into that. And at the moment, in my mind, I think we're in the 3rd accumulation cycle. They do last months. It's not something I don't think we're going to be in a bull run next week. But we are starting to get to the pointy end of the deal where we will start seeing some explosive runs, more so than what we have experienced at the moment. So that's sort of where my stance is on it. I still do think that 2023 isn't ready for that to happen just yet. But yeah, I don't think it's far away.
No, it's
Yeah.
it's great analysis. And yeah, should we move on to XRP because it had a very interesting by the other
Yeah.
day. Yeah. Do you want to shoot away on that?
Yeah, so I did just want to touch on that. I think it was around, well, it'd probably be 2 weeks ago now. It was around the start of November. I actually posted up in the premium a level that I was very keen on shorting on XRP, and it was 75 cents was actually the number. And I think it was about a week or 10 days later, we got there. I took my short. I didn't know why until after the fact, and I saw that there was fake XRP news that had come out about an ETF or something to that effect. But it's just interesting how the pump happened. It stopped dead in its tracks on a very technical level, and now it's retraced quite a bit since. Sorry, I was just a dog outside here that's just losing its mind. But it's
Yeah,
but the point is that whilst it was a news event that pumped the market, the price stopped on an extremely technical level.
yeah. I mean, it's actually kind of reset itself even before the first pump as well because it's lying at about 61.74 at the moment. Sorry, 61 cents. Which is literally from the same level it was on the 6th before the first pump. And then, as I said, the second pump, like you said, hit 75% on the actual nose and then it's come back down and it's just been kind of a big sell off since then. Do you think, I mean, obviously XRP has had quite a turbulent, let's say, 6 months. Do you see another kind of a gain towards the end of the year? Because I mean, it's hit some massive highs this year from where it was. It started off at about 45 before the pump, went up to about 93. It came straight back down to 45 again. Then it's had another kind of a big run up to about 73. It's come back down to uh, 60, 65, and then it's hit kind of 75, and now it's kind of like, as I said, the sell off over the last 2 weeks, like you said, has been quite dramatic, and it's gone back down to kind of 61 C. Do you see kind of this kind of quite dramatic pump and dump scenario with XRP because there's a lot of volatility there at the moment? Do you see some stabilization, or do you think this is going to be quite dramatic chop at the moment until it kind of finds more balance with a high or a low? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think when we start getting into bull markets, you do start to see massive volatility to the upside and the downside. And it's generally going to be in the one direction, and that will be up. And for alts as a whole, I know you asked about XRP, but I think the best way to touch on this is to touch it, talking about alts as a whole.
Yeah.
They're at a very critical level at the moment. They're still that they've broken out of the parallel channel, but they still haven't. If you're using horizontal lines for the bear market, they still haven't broken out of the bear market range. although they are extremely close. So they're almost on the cusp of getting out. Some individual alts are certainly out. Sol is one, Render another, Runes another. There is quite a few more, but it also isn't untoward to see an alt or 2x or 2.5x in a rally up to then dump it and shit the bed, so to speak. Because there is little liquidity out there for the alts. They can move up really quick and drop even quicker. So it is a bit of a tricky situation at the moment. They've almost got like 1 foot out of the door, but 1 foot still inside. I think that it's going to maintain this way with some big pumps and some big retraces. But yeah, I think the grass is greener for alts than what they were a few months ago. That's for sure. So
should we touch on the one that I can't really talk about? It's had some. It's been well. It's kind of been doing its thing, should we say, for the last kind of like week and a bit. With some interesting moves, mainly
yeah,
sideways. But yeah, do you want to touch upon that?
yeah. So it had a big run up since June, right through until around the second week of October, when the US launch was meant to first occur. Actually, the US launch was meant to occur back in September, wasn't it? And then it got pushed out a month to October. So it's had a big run right up until the US launch, but it's sort of faded since then in moving up, but it hasn't really faded to the downside too much. I know we did touch 85 cents, not 85 cents. I wish 85 cents. Point double zero eight. Point 0085 at one point, and that was a very key level for me. I've been fairly open and transparent about where I felt key levels were. But as soon as it sort of touched that, if you're looking on the daily chart, it's then had a spring up, and it challenged that 50% level above, which is the resistance line that I was also quite vocal about as being the top end of the range or resistance. We did break through it and hold it on a daily for 1 day, and then met some fairly significant rejection. And it's now just sort of chilling out at around 1 cent, give or take. So I think
Yeah,
it's just going to still maintain going sideways for now. The longer it sort of sits just below the 50% level, the more likely I sort of think it is to break it to the upside. But at the same time, it could roll over and come back down a bit. What I don't want to see, I don't want to see it breaking that 85 cent level. 85 cent, I said it again, 0.0085 level. That's very critical to hold and maintain. I have got a parallel channel drawn for sweat. The bottom of that channel sort of sits at 00881, 0082, around that level. So there is a bit of confluence there for support. So, look, if we just maintain sideways, that's fine as well. That's good, because it's just that sort of suggests that we're just accumulating, ready to get a bit explosive. One thing to remember is that we're going up for about three months straight. We did have minor retraces through that, but majority of it was just one direction. So if we're going to have a bit of a break and go sideways, that's fine by me. I'd rather go sideways than back down. But one thing we don't want to see is it just continuously going up and up and up, because it will crash at some point. And the longer it's going up for, the bigger the crash or the retrace is going to be. So I'm quite happy with how Sweat's performing at the moment.
yeah. I mean, it's had two cracks at kind of 0.11. One was a reasonably kind of soft rejection, and said the last one has led to kind of like a 7 day kind of drop, but it seems to be kind of picking up again at the moment. Yeah, I don't think that was helped by some of the technical issues. Obviously, Sweat Wallet was removed by Google. whatever purpose that was. It's now been restated on Google Play. That could have also helped, not helped price, without going into too much detail around that. But yeah, have you got any other alts you want to touch upon, or do you want to go to traditional markets like the Dixie, or do you want to go into where do you want to kind of delve into next, my friend?
I might share my screen and we can have a look at. I'll just jump into the sweat chart
Yeah.
just so I can show you what I was talking about. Might make things a bit easier. There's been some comments here. I lost my opportunity. I'm just reading through the comments, guys. Starseed said I lost my opportunity to invest in BTC as I wanted. That's unfortunate, mate. Yeah, I think I remember Starseed when you were having issues trying to get your hands on some Bitcoin. Some good advice there, Baldrick. Only buy what you can afford to lose. Rucknut now. Good to see you there, mate.
David, nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Hey, David. Good to see you. I'd have a heart attack too, Baldrick. I'm just going to stop saying price numbers because it's a bit of a tongue twister saying 0.0085 and whatnot. I'm just going to use whole numbers. I think it's just an easier approach.
I was just about to say 85 cents. If you sat on about 7.5 million, I would just be about keeling over, my friend, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sure, Meji. We can talk about Nia. I've actually got something interesting, Meji, about Nia. I might just jump straight into Nia actually. Ada. Yeah, we can have a look at Ada Xenon. It's been a while actually since I've looked at it. So I'm just going to jump into the premium that we've got here, and so this is something that I posted up about Nia. I did some back testing to see how does Nia operate, where does it go, what's been happening, and so I went as far back as September last year, and so when I was doing some back testing, I found that whenever Nia had a dump, it had a pretty big pump, and and each time it had a pump, it rejected at the golden pocket or the 618 level, and that sort of happened at least 4 occasions that I've marked out there. So this was what my plan was to short it at the golden pocket. I actually had a limit order in at 2.18, and I think it tapped out at 2.187. So pretty much nailed the top. And that's sort of where I sit at the moment with Nia. I don't think it's going to come back down and test the extreme lows. I'm sort of expecting it to come down to around the 1.4, 1.5 level. That would be my expectation. It may not get that far, and I've actually got some TPs above that level. And as soon as I see a reversal, I'll close my short. But that's pretty much where that sits at the moment. I'll jump into the live chart. So as you can see, we on the hourly came. Well, I'll just mark that up now. Came up, hit the top of the golden pocket, and has since been rejecting. I've just got a local fib level drawn here, where I think my first TP is just above this 50% level. I'll do another TP at the golden pocket here, and I'd probably do another one down here at 1.6 if it gets down there, and then I'll let the rest ride and just sort of play it by the price action. I like to have, when I'm taking trades, I like to have points where I've thought out where I'm going to take profit, so I'll lock it in, move my stop loss to entry at least, or we might get a bit of movement, comes down, comes up, goes down, so it forms that lower high, and then I might move my stop to that lower high, just in case it does start to backtrack whilst, I don't know, I'm having lunch or whatever it might be. It's going to make sure that I lock in some profits. Was there any other questions around NIA? Pepe? What the hell?
Mem coin.
Nah, it's all good. We might have a look at Pepe. I just want to go into the sweat chart just so I can show what I was talking about. So that's around 0085. I'll make sure I get that right. And yeah, you can see it's been ranging here for a month and a half now. This is the resistance up the top here. That was right on the US launch, and we came down, bounced off 0085, pushed through, but didn't close the daily above it. It was the following day that we closed above it, and then we met some heavy rejection. So we could come up and test it again, maybe reject. I don't know. I tend to think we might come down to this 90 cent level. 90 cent. I did it again. 009 level, perhaps, and start looking at putting in a high low. That would be a pretty good retrace from being rejected, and then come up and maybe break through some stage in the middle of December. But yeah, we just got to wait and see what happens there. ADA was another one. Let's get rid of some of these. So I've got a high time frame fib here. Basically, the fib covers off the entirety of 2023. And it looks like it rejected off the 786, which is unusual for ADA. ADA normally really likes the 618 level and will reject off that. But, alts as a whole typically go to the 786, not the 618. I know NIA did the 618, but yeah, just as a typical rule of thumb, alts like the 786. So you see it get rejected. It's fairly clean rejection as well. It may come up and could look at sweeping this high here before coming back down. The reason why I talk about the alts coming back down is because they've had such a sustained long run. Unless they start chopping sideways for the next sort of 2 months, like what Sweat's been doing, you can expect that to come back down. Like Sweat didn't go up like that. It went up a little bit, came back a little bit, went up, came back a little bit. That's virtually a straight line. So I do expect to see these come back down, and we can sort of look at where we think they might come down to. Change some of these. So, around the 30, 32 cents area, 32 to 34 cents, I would say would be a nice retrace zone for something like ADA. But that is a fairly heavy rejection there on the 786. You can see also the volume spike that came in. It wasn't much follow through though. Like the next day was half the volume. But these following days, the volumes dropped off even more in going back up. So yeah, I think it might be a soft retest and a rejection. Another one we had was PEPE. Can't believe I'm opening this chart. Muji, don't ask for a meme coin again. It's all good. It's been around since before May, hasn't it? Or not?
Muji says it was a joke.
Oh, was it? That's
Should
all
we?
right. We'll have a go anyway. Rejected from the golden pocket. Honestly, I really dislike memes. I think they're great for shorting if you can get in at a decent level, but even then, they do go a bit crazy and wild. I've only just really roughly drawn this fib level, but it looks like so it looks like a bit of a double top going on, maybe even a bit of a liquidity grab, but rejected ultimately from the golden pocket, coming back down. We could start to see PEPE maybe come down to see if this top here is going to provide some support around. I'm not even sure how many zeros there are there, but we'll just call it that level. But yeah, stay away from memes unless you're feeling a little bit degenerative.
Should we touch upon Ape? Because I know we've touched upon it before. Obviously, I think it was kind of a good 5 or 6 weeks ago. I mean, it's had quite a bit of a resurgence, and I mean, it's kind of touching the 1.5 at the moment. I know it had a huge kind of retrace. Before that, do you see life in kind of Ape? I know there was obviously a lot of news around kind of Ape Fest on Twitter and everything else. Just recently. But it does seem that it seems to be kind of like a lot of life coming back into the NFT market at the moment. I know Solana's been pumping, even though it's down by about 5.5% today. Ape is kind of the one of the visible kind of tokens that's connected, or does really well, should I say, with the NFT market. Do you see kind of this as a resurgence, or do you see this as just a natural kind of progression from the massive kind of retrace that it had? What are your thoughts on that?
I think a bit similar to like how ADA was running up to 40 cents. Like Ape has had an absolutely terrible year.
Yeah,
This is just a weekly chart, so it's been almost a straight line down since the start of the year. We was at $6.50 at the start of the year, so we're still a long way, over 4x away from where we are right now. 12 at the start of the year when Bitcoin was trading at, I think we started the year at about 17.5K.
yeah.
So whilst it has had a nice little pump up the past few weeks, it really hasn't had much of a bounce throughout the entire year. I'd like to see it start breaking this level here, about $2.12, $2.10, we'll call it, just for round numbers. If it starts breaking that $2.10, then I'd be more inclined to say, look, we'll see where some resistance comes in, and if I was wanting to bag some, I'd start to look for a higher low and then bag it. But at the moment, this could just be a bit of a reprieve from the down cycle, and it could potentially come back down to test lower. It's in a fairly different basket to let's say Near, or Sweat or Solana, or quite a number of other alts. Um, we could see it come up to around the $1.80 mark even, because there's little resistance or structure in this downtrend from the 210 mark. It went from 210 virtually down to $1.10. So we could see it bounce up to around this $1.80 mark, and then see a bit of a retrace. Or the flip of the coin is that we start breaking this $2.12 mark, and then we could start going up and come down for a higher low, and then continuing on. But it's come from pretty high. Like, I remember when this was happening, when it launched, and it got up to $18, and then we had the big surge up to $27. It was madness. It was madness to think that was last year in April. Bitcoin in April last year I think that was when we got to around 45K thereabouts, give or take. And just to see where it was to where it is now it's crazy to think about it.
I mean, the other one I wanted to touch upon that we spent quite a bit of time on last week was Link, because that's cooled off dramatically, and you almost called it to the button because you said the retrace would be possibly down to about 12 and a half. And looking at the chart, I think it touched the low of just under 90, 90, yeah, about sorry, $12.90. Did you see that as a natural cooling off? Because at one point, I remember you saying last week that, if it goes through kind of this resistance, $20 was possible because of, such a rise. Where do you see this? Did you see it as kind of like a natural progression? Natural retrace. Do you think just the market just cooled off, or is this kind of like within your kind of planning within kind of like the link cycle at the moment? Do you think now it's going to kind of chop sideways and then kind of motor on towards kind of 17 and a half, 20? What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's halfway. It's a couple of weeks into a bit of a correction. I don't see it coming back down into this range down here in this channel. It's broken out significantly, so I think we might see it move a bit more sideways. Come back down to test this low at around $12.80, $12.50.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, that 12.50 was a bit of a key level for me. So I do think that we'll see it come back down and test that before it sort of continues up to see where the next resistance area is going to be. And we can sort of see from the price structure, this is on a weekly chart. Around this top here, around between $18 to $20. It's gonna come into some resistance. So whilst we did have this explosive move, I think we'll have some calmer moves moving forward for Link for a little while. That's just how it sort of likes to operate. You look at the range for the last 18 months or 16 months, I suppose. It really just fluctuated and accumulated in this range before it started breaking out. It wasn't very. So yeah, I think we'll probably see a little bit of downwards, retest this low at around $12.50 to $13, and then we might start seeing some of these high levels getting tested up to $20. And yeah, I probably don't expect to see Link breaking much higher than $20 for the remainder of this year. I mean, there is only 5 to 6 weeks left. But Link's going to be. It looks like it's going to be a pretty good mover coming into next year. So
Baldrick, that's a really good question because I mean about ETH. Because I mean it's had a really interesting day. I mean it had kind of like the high this morning of almost where we at on the chart. I think it was 2,115, and then it had a kind of the low today of 1925, and it's kind of running high again at about 2044. Do you think
yeah,
what are your thoughts around kind of like ETH at the moment?
ETH is an interesting one, and it really depends on the chart you're looking at. So this is on the USD chart. It does look like a bit of a double top could be forming here. To come back down. I've got a feeling that this low here around 1380 is safe. I don't think we'll be at 1380 again. This low here at 1460 is probably safe as well. I don't think we'll come back down that low. Where I do think we could potentially come down to around the $1,600 level. And I'll show why in a second. It has had a decent run up though. You can't take that away from it. But we'll go into the Bitcoin chart. So I've had this, and once it broke out of the channel, it sort of started really piling on the red weeks, and it's actually really respected this trend line on the move down, and that runs from September last year, which coincides with when Ethereum went to proof of stake. That was actually the week of it. It peaked, and it's been bleeding to Bitcoin ever since. So I think this trend's gonna continue for ETH. I think it's gonna continue to bleed to Bitcoin. And with thinking, sorry, I've just had a bit of a brain fart. When I was talking about Bitcoin earlier, I sort of felt that Bitcoin's gonna at the absolute highest reach 42K this year. Other than that, I think we're sort of in the midst of a bit of a retrace. So when you consider Bitcoin's going to have a retrace, you need to consider that Ethereum is going to retrace harder because it's in a downtrend against Bitcoin. And if this Ethereum Bitcoin pair gets broken at this 0.049 level, it's really going to struggle. Like there's a little bit of support here at 0.046. There's some stronger support at 0.045 because we've also got these highs over here. It can really start to fall and collapse a little bit. I think it will find a bit of a bottom in this zone. So yeah, when you look at it on the Bitcoin chart against Bitcoin, it does look bearish. It on the USD chart, it does look a little bit like a double top, but it has been showing some significant strength as well. Like in this run up, the volume's increasing, which is always a good sign. It hasn't had a heavy rejection from the 2150 level. It's had a nice rejection, but I wouldn't say it's been heavily rejected. Certainly not like what it did back here. So it could continue up, but I'm more interested in the FBTC evaluation than what I am the USD chart. That's probably partly because I'm not invested in Ethereum, so the exact value of Ethereum doesn't really affect me too much. What do you think, Simon?
No, I mean, I just again, it's just more of kind of like a passing. You know, I haven't got any ETH. I've held quite a lot before, but as I said, it's just an interesting run up at the moment. You know, it's a significant move. I'm just looking at kind of the depth chart and the order book at the moment. You know, I'm just waiting to see that if it does, 2050 mark, whether then it's going to take another proper run up to kind of like 2001 at the moment, and to see if it holds. I mean, obviously ETH has got a lot of utility. You know, it's just the major kind of tool within kind of Web3 as in payment, etc., etc. You know, it's got an amazing blockchain. I'm a big fan of it, and it does seem to be getting a lot of support at the moment. But yeah, I'm slightly wary, kind of, if it is going to start bleeding into BTC, like how quickly it's going to chop. Because at the moment on the 1 hour chart, and even if I go into kind of the 1 minute chart today, the edges are quite significant. You know, from this morning, kind of like at 6 o'clock this morning when I woke up, it was sub 200 going up to 270 in one day. Is it's a significant rise for ETH. Now, whether this is again down to kind of the situation with BlackRock, whether it's just down to kind of BTC dominance at the moment, Solana's bleeding heavily today as well. Solana's down by 6.21 as we stand. So our other alts are starting to bleed into ETH at the moment as well as BTC. This is on a macro level that I'm just looking at the moment as I'm speaking. So I am quite interested to see where this is going to stabilize, if it does hold around kind of like the 225 level, or if it's going to meet resistance, kind of, as I said, going up towards 250, crash back down to kind of like below the 2000 mark. Where is it going to fall? Because we have seen ETH, recently as low as kind of 1008, 1009. It does have kind of this ping pong effect, kind of like with the other alts as well. If BTC dominance is going through the roof, then obviously all the alts is going to start bleeding into that. But again, ETH being kind of the next big token, we normally see that quite stabilized, and it doesn't feel stable at the moment on kind of like the day by day analysis. That's just kind of where I see this at the moment. And as I said, I mean the next kind of couple of days, because as I said, I mean the high was going back a week ago now, and we've seen kind of like a couple of really jagged edges. It's had this massive drop off, going down to 1009, and it's had kind of like, as I said, over the last 2-3 days, another significant run up. And it just feels like that kind of classic M formation, and I'm just waiting to see where this kind of cliff is going to drop off at the moment. And that's one I'm just quite hesitant even to kind of invest in it at the moment. Um, that's just my personal feeling. Um, I don't know what kind of, if you've got anything else you want to kind of come back with that on at the moment.
Yeah, so I've just got the BTC dominance chart up here. And the common theme has been pump, a little bit of sideways, retrace a bit, and then we get into the next pump. And, we got up to 54, just over 54% on the BTC dominance in this most recent pump. And we're sort of just hovering around this 52 to 53% level. And I think we're sort of coming into where the next pump's going to go. Probably, I sort of think around this 57% level is where my opinion sits. And that's just going to be the nature of it. Like Ethereum, alt, that's when Bitcoin's in the bull market, that certainly the first 2 years of the bull, or first 12 months of the bull market, 18 months of the bull market, Bitcoin leads the market. And the only way it can lead the market is if all the liquidity is going to it. So you're going to naturally sort of see your Ethereums, Solanas, whatever it might be, are going to bleed back to Bitcoin. They're going to rally on their own as well, but eventually they will sell off a little bit, and those profits will get fed back into Bitcoin, which helps move the dominance up. When I was having a look today, I saw BNB's had a decent rally, but the Bitcoin dominance has also been on a bit of a rally. BNB is one of the larger alts. It's top. I think it's third on the list at the moment. Could be wrong, but it's had a big rally, so you would think that the dominance should drop, being the third biggest alt, but the dominance hasn't. It's been continuing up. So I think we're going to maintain this trend for a little while longer, but I think we're closer to the end of the dominance uptrend cycle than what we are the start.
Okay, cool.
I probably will just touch Sol while we've got it. It's been on a monster run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks up on high volume. I think it's deserved a bit of a break, to be honest. Like I was saying earlier, the longer it goes up in a straight line, the harder it's going to fall in a straight line. And actually, Tribe's a good example of that. Or not Tribe, TRB is a good example of that. It's been on an absolute tear. And it got up to 143 or 144. This is on the PERPS chart. And in 1 week, it nearly lost 50% of its value, about 40% of its value in 1 week. I actually reckon that it's probably closer to a couple of days. Or in 1 day, it dropped 40% of its value, and that's not because of any rug pulls or the like. It was just way too overheated of just going straight up. And like, it's still nowhere near where its low was, but it's wiped out all of these people that were in longs that hadn't closed their position yet. And it's just absolutely annihilated a lot of open interest. So that's why, you start, if you get these smaller retraces back here on the run up, deeper than what these are. But if you get some smaller retraces, when it comes to these big ones, it might have only come down to $125 as opposed to $85, because it's had a nice natural flow the whole way through, as opposed to straight up and then almost like a capitulation event. But I think that will do for sharing my screen for today.
Do you want to quickly touch upon kind of the traditional markets for 5 minutes?
Yeah, so I'll probably just talk about the US stocks. They've been going bonkers as far as traditional stocks go, since making a low at 4,100. I think right now we're sitting around 45, 40, 45.50, give or take. They've been really just going up in a straight line. For me, stocks in a clear bull market for me. I struggle to look at stocks through a bearish lens. I mean, you need to be devil's advocate and try to, but yeah, I just really struggle to see it at the moment. They've been on an absolute tear as far as traditional finance goes. Have you been following them at all, Simon?
No, I mean, as I've said a number of times, mate, I'm just purely crypto. So, I bow down to kind of your significant knowledge on this,
Yeah.
around this kind of stuff, mate, to be honest.
So I've had a fairly conservative analysis. Essentially, I want to see the year close out above 4,600 points for the SPX. I did say that I think it was about a week ago, or when we were around 43.50. It was somewhere around that number. But we're not even a week on, and we're almost at the door of 4,600. So I feel like that is going to be easily achievable. The reason why 4,600 is quite key is of the recent for this year, that'll be making a new high for the year, getting above 4,600, and that would just affirm some of these higher lows. So yeah, for me, US stocks, bull market. I'm pretty much filled my bags when it comes to traditional finance. So that's partly due to the tax issues that I have over here in Australia. So come Christmas, I've already wound back how much I'm DCAing, but come Christmas I'll be stopping altogether, and I'll just sit on what I've got in my portfolios, and yeah, just ride the wave.
Sounds a good plan, my man.
That's it. You always got to have a plan. One thing I did want to touch on, and it's a little bit away from charts and prices and things like that, and that's just around different trading styles and what's important and what's not so important. Of course, this is my opinion only, but there is so many different trading styles from, like, Simon, you're a clip trader. I'm more of a day or swing trader, if you will. But there's also different ways of trading. So you can use fib levels, you can use Elliott waves, harmonics, or moving averages, or a culmination of many indicators. That doesn't really matter. You need to use what you're comfortable with and what you understand. But what doesn't change and what shouldn't change from the different styles of trading is how you manage the risk of your trades. How much capital are you willing to, or how much of your portfolio are you wanting to risk in a trade? That shouldn't, whilst the percentages will differ from person to person, having a risk management strategy should not change. Everyone that trades stocks, crypto, whatever it might be, needs to have a risk management strategy, and they need to stick to it. I think it's very important to be aware of that and implement that if you are a trader. Because if you don't, you might be winning now, but in the long run, you end up losing. So I just wanted to just touch on that. I think it's something that's really important to me. And yeah, there's many different ways of trading. I don't think there's any right or wrong. It just comes down to whatever you're most comfortable with. But always remember your risk management.
Agreed, man. I mean, we spoke about this quite a few times over the last few weeks, and yeah, it doesn't matter about kind of, as I said, your style of trading. It is just down to kind of your risk management. That needs to come first. You need to have a plan. You need to implement it. And you need to stick to that. As a clip trader, I work on 10-15% margins. As soon as that comes in, it doesn't matter if I can make more. I'm straight onto the next trade. That's different for Borgie. That might be different from you. You need to find whichever style suits you and your risk management. I have the ability to sit in front of a laptop for 12, 15 hours a day. That suits clip trading because I can do the macro analysis. That might not suit you. And with clip trading, sometimes you need to use big trades, 500,000, whatever, to get a small percentage back. But, I'm comfortable with that. Like Borgie, I've been trading a long time. I, I, I'm happy with that risk. That is not going to suit everybody. The whole point of kind of down under trading is to show you multiple different styles of trading to help you with proper kind of technical analysis, but also to help you with risk management and proper dollar cost average as well, to help to give you the tools so you can feel comfortable in going into the market. And that's what we're here for, and that's what the premium service is here for as well. Have you got anything else you want to add, Borgie, before we close down?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, mate. It's the aim of the game is to preserve capital, and hopefully get a few winners along the way. And so, yeah, if you can start preserving your capital and risking only what you're comfortable with risking, then you're getting those foundation steps in order. But besides that, I think that's going to be a wrap for today. Thank you everyone for joining in. Hope that you learned a little bit and got something out of it. If you have any feedback, feel free to chuck it up in the general chat, or you can always message one of us directly and let us know something that you might want us to cover next time, or look at in a bit more detail. But yeah, other than that, I'll give you guys your day back. Oh, we've got a couple of comments here. Thanks, David. No worries, Baldrick. I guess it's probably starting to get a bit late over there in the UK as well, where I think most of you guys are from. Not too bad. 6:30 in the morning here.
Nice.
But yeah.
No worries, Starseed. As I said, man, just keep coming. It's all a learning curve for all of us, man. There's something new we learn from the market every single day. No worries, then on. Guys,
All right, guys.
again,
Catch you next time. Sorry.
No, I was just about to say, take it all easy. If you've got any questions, just ping us. And we'll see you all probably next week on a Tuesday or Wednesday. If you've got any topics you want us to cover, please just throw it up in general chat. Or if you've got any cryptos, I will send a DM out, or I will send something on Twitter, generally on Sunday or Monday. If you've got anything that you want us to cover by then, please let us know. If something's doing a rally, if you've got interest or you want to start going DCAing into a Pacific crypto, we're happy to cover it.
See you later.
And that's it. See you all later, guys. Take it steady.